Hey guys, and welcome to another edition of Tutorial Grid. Ta-da, we're back. Yay. After all of these months and months and months of nothing. A lot that's gone on. So let's get right back into it. All right, so fun thing we're doing today. So I released a new video on the Mike and Gary channel, which if you haven't seen that stuff, you should check it out. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be making my dog basically get sucked into this pokeball. So yeah, this thing is going to suck up my dog, Bentley. So that's going to be fun. But first, check us out on Facebook. That link will be in the description below because it's going to change. So make sure to give us a like on Facebook. Also, check out the new website at CherokeeTurner.com. Yes, I have my own website now. It's no longer Avid Productions 479. It is now just CherokeeTurner.com. Lots of updates. All the stuff is going to go on right there. Tutorials, all the fun stuff. It's going to be a completely new ball game. So make sure to check that out. All right, so here we are in After Effects. So what we're going to be doing today is making my dog disappear into a Pokeball. So that's going to look something like this. So I found this Pokeball, and I'm wondering if my dog will fetch it. So we're gonna see if that's going to work. All right, Bailey, go get the ball. All right, so yeah, kind of funny. With the whole Pokemon Go thing going on right now, I decided, hey, I had this idea while going on a walk with my family. I was like, hey, I'm gonna go do this thing real quick. Literally ran inside, grabbed the grabbed the closest camera I had, and did it really quickly. And it had this really crappy filter on it, and yeah, that's why it's really grainy. All right, so what happens is in this video, this is what I call the one-shot wonder. So I had one take to do this in. My dog loves to fetch balls, so we just kind of went with that. So we've got the way we have to set this up before we do it. So we have the camera on the tripod, and we want to do this in one shot. We want to make sure we don't move the camera at all whenever this happens. So we have a clean slate on both ends to choose from. So to set this up, you want to put the camera on a tripod, make sure not to move it, throw the ball, and run after it like a freaking idiot. So notice down here, we've got it on the same shot. This will also be in the project downloads at CherokeeTurner.com, and the link will be in the description. It's weird to say, so I'll have to get used to that. It's going to be in two shots. That way you don't see all the fluff in the middle of it. But yeah, you'll want to have this blank slate in the back end, which will be basically me running to get Bentley out of the Pokeball. And the front end, which is going to be me talking. So if you want to use that, you can do it. If you want to, you can try it on your own and set up the camera that way. So again, do not move the tripod, throw something, or you can just use the blank slate at the end, or you can just use this spot right here where there's just nothing going on, and you can just set a Pokeball there, or do whatever you want to do. Okay, so we're going to start out with a new composition. So we'll just go to composition, new composition. I recorded it 1920 by 1080, 23.976. So I'll change this 23.976. And it all depends on what your frame rate is that you shot at. So if you shot at 29, do it 29. If you shot at 30, do it 30. I personally like 23.976. It's the film view. Everybody's so used to it, so it's just easier to do it that way. My composition's only about 17 seconds long, so I'll just make it 17, and I'll call this Bentley. Yes. Also, if you're interested, you can check out the Mike and Gary stuff at youtube.com/Mike and Gary. Make sure to subscribe to them and say, hey, Tutorial Grid sent me. Those are my good friends. I actually used to be roommates with those guys, and I helped them out with a bunch of camera equipment in the very beginning, and now I'm kind of like one of the producers there. So go give them a like and a share, and just give them some love. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be lazy. I'm going to copy and paste these two things into my composition. So basically what you're going to want to do is you don't really have to align anything, but you want to align it based on how it looks good in your composition. So I'll render these out exactly how they are here, so you'll know where they are in this composition, so you can practice it the way this is. Or you can use it in Premiere and send it to After Effects, whatever you want to do. it's fine. Okay, so first off, let's go back into that composition. We've got a bunch of different layers down here, and it's been a while since I've done this little tutorial. So what we're going to do first is we're going to set this blue kind of solid. So we've got a lot of different things going on here. We've got a light that emits from the ball. We've got a black solid. This black solid is actually going to act as our shadow. We're using Element 3D, so that's something that you're going to want to download. If you don't have it, we're definitely going to use it. You can use Cinema 4D. That is pre-installed in this if you want to. I don't want to do it because it's just way too much work for me. It looks better, but this is way easier. We're going to have another layer directly on top of this. This is going to be, we also have this layer right here. This layer right here is actually the dog layer. So we have to mask our little puppy dog out, our poor little puppy dog. We have to, we have to mask him out in order to put it over the ball. We've also got a fun little lens flare just to kind of give it a little bit more of that realistic look. We've got a lightning strike here, which is going to kind of sweep our dog into the ball. We've got the lens flare. And then we've got more curves adjustment to make it look a little bit more real. So the first thing that we're going to animate is actually this little lightning bolt. So you're going to see it bounce, and it's going to go on the second bounce. It's going to start lightning. So we're going to start with that. All right, so we're going to go layer, new, solid. We're going to call this lightning. Make sure it's black. Go over here and type in lightning. Maybe. There it is. Drag that on over to our lightning layer. So we're going to play around with this. So we want this to kind of strike this other unit over here. So that's going to add a little bit more to our composition here. We also want it to be a cool color. Nothing too bright, as it'll kind of, we'll just add a little bit more to the reel if we have it a regular color whenever we add it to our additive layer. Segments, you can kind of toy around this. I think I had mine at a fairly low setting. And then detail, I like mine fairly detailed. You don't want it too detailed because then it doesn't look detailed at all. Weird. All right, so we're looking at that. Good. That's looking good. It's looking a little more purple, but I think that's going to be all right. Detail amplitude. Yeah, we'll kind of bring that up just a little bit. And speed. I think speed's going to be okay. We can have it a little slower. That's fine right there. Okay, so now we're going to have to animate it. So we've got start and end points. So let's go ahead and put this over our footage here. And let's go ahead and set that normal to add. And we're going to follow the ball here. So there it goes right there. And then on that second one, we're going to start this animation process. So now that we've got kind of our first keyframes set, we want to change some things slightly because obviously this isn't going to work. So we'll just change our segments maybe a little bit. That might work right there. Maybe change the details down just a bit. No, I kind of like the detail like that. Amplitude, we'll just kind of bring this down just a tad bit. That'll work right there. Maybe go bring the details down just a smidgen. Kind of like that. Which is going to be the light on the ground. So we'll be kind of doing that. And doing that kind of thing. So let's go ahead and animate this. So it hits, boom, and then right there. So we'll go ahead and do our start and end point. Make sure to hit those keyframes. And we're just kind of go frame by frame. So we'll look where the ball is, right there. And right there. Move one frame up. I don't know why. I don't like using hotkeys. I like using it this way. So we'll go move that around just a little bit. down, and then the Pokeball kind of disappears, and we just kind of put it right here, and that will be fine, just like that. So whenever you look at it, it's going to be like that. Okay, and it's going to stick about right there, because it's going to stick to that ground right there, and we're going to hear me yell Bentley, and then yeah, that's how it's going to work. Okay, so now that we've got that kind of finished and taken care of, we've got this little sticker on the end. Okay, so I call it a sticker because we need this portion at the end of it in order to make this segment work. Okay, so this is kind of what we're going to do to make this look a little bit more real. So we're going to have to composite the puppy on top of this, because if we don't, it's just going to be a regular, you know, stock wash with this thing here. It's going to just be a regular slate, so we don't want that to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that layer that the dog's on, move that on top of the lightning, and then let's go ahead and wipe this out real quick. So we're going to see him right there. So we need to start our masking process right here. So go ahead and turn that on. And we're going to start our masking process. Now this is not the so much fun part of the day. So we're going to just mask this dog out just like this, and kind of go on from there. Okay, so we've got that mask, and we're going to want to make sure that our mask path is turned on, and we want to make sure that we're going to feather this just a little bit. So it's just going to blend that puppy dog right into the background a little bit better, just to give it that more of a real look. Okay, so now when we turn this on and off, it's going to, the background is going to stay, and it's going to look as if he's composited into the shot, and it's going to be able to allow us to push that on top of our lightning scene. So now the next thing you're going to do is animate the mask path and go on from there. So we're just going to keep on animating this path. This is the most tedious part of this whole mission. Okay. All right. Now that we have that done, you see we've got the dog rushing over and getting disappeared by the Pokeball. Okay, so we've got that. All right, so now we've got that kind of going around. Cool. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer. So we're going to layer new solid, and we want to pick a color. So I've got this more of like a purplish. I've got this more of like a purplish blue. So that's kind of what we're going to go with. So we're going to go with probably that right there. So we'll hit OK. And I'm going to create this into a 3D layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit P for position for a purple solid. I'm going to push this into the background just a bit. This doesn't really matter too much, but I like to do it just for the sake of tutorial purposes. And I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm going to rotate that on the X-axis. I'm going to push it down to where that lightning bolt is, and I kind of want to center that up just a bit. About right there. And I'm going to rotate it just a smidgen, about more like right about there. Okay, cool. Now what I want to do is I'm going to go to our mask tool here, or our shape tool. I'm going to go to ellipse, and I'm going to double click on that, and that's going to create a mask for that layer. I'm going to double click on that. I'm going to size it down just a smidgen. Oops. Come on. Size that down a bit. I'm going to hit F. We're going to feather this quite a bit. And then we're also going to change the mask expansion. We're going to pull that down quite a bit. And then we'll change our feather just a little bit more, take a little bit off. And we're just going to kind of make this a little bigger. More feather. About right there. Cool, perfect. And I'm going to change that mode to add. So now we've got kind of this light kind of source that's going to give off some color. And I might want to change it to screen or color, maybe. Color. Let's see that. Color. Yeah, kind of like that. Maybe pull this out just a bit. So since we've got our purple solid and we've got our color, what we're going to want to do is we're going to make this look like it's flickering on and off because our lightning is kind of going kind of nuts. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and hit T on our purple solid, and we're going to hit alternate, and we're going to hit our stopwatch. And we're going to type in wiggle, parentheses, let's do 30, comma, let's do 30, comma 30, and we'll see how that looks. Yeah, that's just not enough. It's barely tweaking in and out. So let's try, let's just do 100, comma 30. Yeah, that's not gonna do it either. So let's try 30, 100. That's a little better. Let's do maybe 90. I like that. Maybe 20. All right, perfect. So now that we've got that set up and it looks like it's, you know, kind of doing its thing, we'll go ahead and duplicate that layer and we'll make it just a bit bigger. I'm going to see if we can make this illuminate out just a little bit more than what it usually should. So it's going to illuminate quite a bit. And let's go and hit F and let's see if we can make this just a little bit more. Maybe just a little less. We don't want to see the edges of our composition for that purple solid, that's for sure. And let's maybe make this a little brighter. So let's change our solid settings. And let's go to maybe a little bit lighter purple. And let's do add. So that's going to add just a little bit more. But also notice you're getting our edges. So we want to go back to our feather settings. I'm going to take that down just a smidgen. And maybe actually let's do hit M twice there and expansion it down just a bit. A little more of a fall off. So let's go ahead and duplicate that. So Control D again, and let's go to hit M twice, and let's expand that down quite a bit. So we want to go to, we want this to be at 0 pixels. And then we'll go and do feather. Let's undo our feather quite a bit, and then let's expand this down. Let's make our hot spot, and let's feather this out just a little bit. A little bit about right there. Let's do one more. Duplicate and F, and let's do that hot spot. Really nice hot spot right there. And let's just see what it looks like whenever we take that expansion down just a smidgen. But right there. Cool. So we've got that hot spot right there. All right, so we don't need this to come on right away. So we need to figure out right there's whenever we start moving it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to, this would have been a lot easier do in the beginning. So we could have moved the position of one and then we could duplicate it all, but I kind of did it in reverse. So you can select all your layers here, hit the stopwatch, and we'll just animate that up. So we start here. So we're going to move this down to where our little buddy is right here. And we'll move it up about right there. So our dog disappears right there. I'll move this right here. Okay, so we'll move this up. So it moves with the Pokeball. And I'm going to start my layers right here. So we'll go ahead and zoom out, and we'll move all our purple layers to start right here. We'll also move our lightning to start right here as well. So it's going to start right there. Boom. Then it's going to slowly fade out. So I'll also move these all to the bottom. So make sure to select them all. Move those to the bottom. We'll move the lightning down. So now we've got a moving light and a disappearing dog, kind of. Perfect. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to kind of add our Pokeball. So what we're going to do is we are going to go to Layer, New, Solid, and we can make this any color we want because we're going to be using Video Copilot Element. I like using black. That's just what I like. Element. I'm going to pop that on top of all of our footage here other than the puppy dog footage. And in my effects and presets, I'll type in Element. Right there. Right, that's going to bring up nothing. We're going to have our element panel. Go to scene setup. We're going to import a object, which is going to be my little Pokeball object, which I found from Turbo Squid. You can download it there. It'll also be in the download in the description and on my website at CherokeeTurner.com. So make sure to get that. It's a Cinema 4D file, so it's already been textured and all that stuff. And we're going to use the textures that are in there, so everything's going to work perfectly the way it was made. I'll go ahead and hit OK. So funny thing about this model, it is a free model. I found it. You kind of have to work with it a little bit. And there's a mat that's on the bottom of it. So you're going to have to delete that. So there's a little bit of prep work to get this to work, and I can't remember if this is it. Yep, that's it. So material 3, just go ahead and turn that off, and let's go ahead and center this up just a bit. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to go to transform, I believe. Nope, there's our anchor point. So we'll change our anchor point to the center of this ball. Actually, let's do this. Try to center this up as much as we can. So we'll use the position XYZ. I want to get this just pretty much almost directly in the middle of the composition here because I want to be able to rotate this fairly simple. There. It's the thing about using other people's models. It's sometimes they just don't want to work correctly, or they model them with something some way, and then you have to use only part of the model, and it's a mess. So now we've got that centered up fairly all right, decently. So now we'll change the anchor points of it to match what we're going to do here. Right there in the center, that should give us a fairly decent look. All right, now we have that all centered up. All right. Go ahead and hit OK. It's massive. Look at that. Look at that ball. Cool. All right. So first off, we're going to go ahead and push this into Z space. If you want to, you can create a camera. I wouldn't really worry about it because we're not, I mean, we don't, you're barely going to be able to see this thing anyway. So it's not going to really matter whether there's a camera in it or not. What we'll do is we'll go to particle replicator and we'll go to rotation and we'll see how this thing rotates. So it rotates fairly well. So I'll go ahead and do this and rotate this a little bit. And I'll go ahead and push this back in Z space. So I'll set it about right there. And if you want, you can kind of use this Z space. So our Z space here is 21,470. So I'll just put it there. Z space 21,470. We'll just stick it right there. So this is fairly large, obviously. So this is where we want the center of our Pokemon to be, or our Pokeball to be. So it needs to be right there. So obviously this is a little large. So we'll need to go to our particle look, and we're going to need to push this down a little bit. Quite a bit. I mean, this is going to be like itty bitty. Right about there. So for reference, you want to use this. So yeah, it might be just a little bit smaller. So 0.4 maybe. Whoops. Jesus Christ, 0.4. Yeah, that's going to be about the size. So about right here, we'll move our Pokeball to. This is where our Pokeball will be. Right there. And so it's going to be sucked up right there. All right. So right when he disappears, we're going to start animating this Pokeball. And we're going to kind of make it spin and do a couple of things. We'll, make a light layer and do all that stuff. So in order to animate this, we're going to use position X and Y. We'll make sure to make a stopwatch right there. So go ahead and click that. So it's going to hit. So it's going to hit and we'll go up here. And we'll just kind of go up like this. Actually, what we really want to do, right when it hits, we also want to hit stopwatches on a rotation. Want to make sure to do that so we add a little bit more of that realism. So we'll pull up on our frames a little bit and we'll animate this up like it's jumping and rotating. A little bit, and then we'll have it drop back down, blop. Move forward a couple frames, goes up, move forward a couple frames and goes back down. Move forward a frame, it goes up just barely and down. So it goes. All right, so this is what we got. Poof, poof, like that. It's a cheap little trick. Just like that. So we might want to, what we'll do is we'll hit our down arrows. Now this isn't going to be a perfect animation. I'm just showing you for, tutorial purposes only. Obviously, you can make this look way better. One of the things, you can use scripts to make the actual bounce, physically bounce as if it's in a real like bouncy ball. You can totally use a script for that. That's going to be in another tutorial. I'll show you how to use a script to make a actual bounce or a ball bounce based off any speed that your keyframes are moving. So it'll make a realistic bounce based off that, which is really cool. So let's look at this. All right. That is just a little too subtle of a movement for me. So we'll go ahead and move this up. So go just like that. Boom. Just like that. So kind of spins in the air. And let's spin it a little more like this. And it hits and it goes up. And we'll spin it a little more. And then it's going to go down like this, like that. Goes just like that. Cool. Boof. All right. So another thing that we've got is, notice in the first shot here, our ball is fairly fuzzy. It's got a lot of grain. It does not look that clean. So I'm going to go ahead and start kind of making this look a little bit more like our scene. So first off, I'm going to do curves, and I'm going to add that to our element layer here. So it's a little bit darker, Turn that up, turn this down just a bit. It's kind of a weird color cast on this. All right, that's probably going to be as good as it's going to get for a 3D object in this kind of a crappy render or crappy video that I made. Okay, so we'll do that. Let's add maybe a little bit of yellow to it, maybe a hint of yellow, maybe a hint of blue. Let's do yellow on the top, maybe some blue on the bottom, kind of give it a little bit of a cast. And then, since it's blurry, we'll type in Gaussian Blur, and we'll add that to our system here, because it is absolutely not in focus. That is for darn sure. We got that. Where'd it go? Element. Where's my friend? There you are. I might want to do I wonder if I can do a pixelate. Nah, I won't do that. From afar, it's not too bad. I also want to change the lighting because obviously we have a shadow here. So let's go to layer, new. Let's add a light here. We'll just add a point light. Let's see if we can fix this lighting here. So since we're using a 3D object, obviously the light has to be perfect in order for this to work properly. So we'll kind of move this down. Let's move it with this thing. All right, so we've got it on top. So we've got technically my light source is right over there because that's where the sun is. So let's push this back just a bit more. About right. All right, and since I've got that there, I'm going to kind of change my element here. Move that back down. Change the RGB. Gonna make this darker, much darker. To kind of match my source here. Cool. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use match grain. I'm going to drag that onto our element layer again. And we're going to go, instead of preview, we're going to do final output, noise source layer to our bottom layer here. It's going to add that noise to our pokeball. Okay. And let's tweak it just a little bit. Let's change up the intensity quite a bit. That's going to just make that just a little bit more realistic. Also, I want to change my saturation. So saturation here. I'll put that right before our noise. I'm going to change my reds. Just desaturate it just a bit. A little more. All right, so that's where my pokeball is going to be. All right, so next step, what we're going to do is we're going to move that over here to where right whenever this layer turns on, have that pokeball ready to go. Let's go. Boom, just like that. Cool. So the next thing what we're going to do is we're going to move our little lightning layer. So obviously whenever our pokeball moves, our lightning layer is going to have to move. So let's bring those down. Effects, lightning, start and end point. We'll go ahead and do our lightning layer. We'll add our keyframes again here, and we'll just move up with our lightning about right there. And we'll move up to the layers here. Just like that. Move down. Right there. Down there. Move up here. Anybody in there? So this is what we got so far. Just like that. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to need to make our dog here go into the Pokeball. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this layer. And about right here, I'm going to have him slowly get smaller into that Pokeball. Because that's kind of how it goes in the Pokemon world. You get smaller and you go directly into that Pokeball. So we'll start it right here. And we're going to select our position. We're also going to select scale. So we'll just get smaller as we go into this ball. So right here, let's make this a little bit bigger. Right here, we'll go ahead and scale this down quite a bit. And whoops. Move this over and scale it down some more. Move this over. Just like that. Okay, the next thing what we're going to do is we are going to light him up. So as soon as he gets about right here, this layer turns on. And we're going to just kind of light him up. Just like this, okay? That way he turns kind of purple. And we'll go from there. So let's go ahead and select curves. Put that on a layer. So in order to create purple, we're going to do lots of blue and lots of red. Just like that. Now we're also going to animate him getting brighter. So also at this point, we will actually go to our RGB layer. We'll hit curves. And as soon as he gets about right here, we're going to brighten him up. Real bright. Just like that. We might have to use an exposure layer. So let's go ahead and try that. Exposure. Put that on our puppy right here. And we'll hit our exposure. And we'll just hit all three of those just in case we can't get the look we're going for. Oops. And let's move this up quite a bit. That's going to be better. Just like that. Perfect. Cool. So we've got the Pokemon going down. We've got it lighting up and eating our puppy. Just like that. One also thing that we can do that actually might help what we're doing. So our light isn't as bright as it used to be. So that's because we added a light to a 3D layer. So let's go ahead and pull down all of our options for these layers. And we're going to go to material options. and accepts lights, turn them off. I always forget about that. And it's just something that you have to do. So yeah, I selected all my layers and it automatically turned the material options to accept lights to off. So make sure you have all your layers selected and make sure to do that, or else this isn't going to look as correctly as it should. So there that is. Just like that. Cool. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of a flare, because I don't think it's a true composition unless you add a flare. So we'll go to solid and we'll just call this flare. Hit OK. And we'll type in Optical Flares from Video Copilot. Drop that down onto our frame here. And let's go out all the way. And let's find a preset flare in here, okay? There we go. I just made something real quick. Maybe do a spike down through here. Let's do this purple thing right through here. Perfect. Let's do... Now, the one thing I don't want is I don't want there to be a ton of white. The more and more I do this kind of stuff, the more and more I don't want there to be white on things, because it just makes it look, I don't know, just that much more fake, I guess. So, yeah, we'll just go ahead and use this one. Looks all right. So we'll go and hit mode, and let's change that to screen. That's going to kind of add to our thing here. We'll turn down the brightness. This is probably going to be the hardest part, because we're actually going to have to animate this with our lightning layer. So whenever this turns on, you can see the lightning is off, lightning is on. So you kind of have to have it flicker a bit. So, I mean, I guess you could probably, if you want to, you can animate it with the light the way that I have set it up with the wiggle, or you can turn it on and you can use flicker, speed, very fast, and amount like that. And you can kind of just kind of judge it from there. Smooth, we'll do sharp. One of those. So we'll also want to animate it. So I'm just going to be kind of a little lazy. You can make this look a lot better, but I would definitely recommend hand animating all of it. But I'm going to take the lazy route and use the flicker. So I'm also going to animate the position of it. So I have my lightning right here. So this is where my position is going to start, and my position is going to end right here. And then it's going to bounce up with the ball. Right there. Then it's going to bounce down with the ball. Right there. Then it's going to bounce up with the ball. Right here. Then bounce down. Here. Right there, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit my brightness keyframe, and I'm going to turn it off right there. Maybe not. Looks like there's still stuff going on. All right there. That's where I'll turn it off. All right, so this is what it looks like so far. So another reason why I don't like using sometimes optical flares and things, because again, it's because of that white. I always think, let's try changing it to a color, because I'm just not a huge fan of just keeping it at white. I want to try using some of our blending layers. Okay, so what I did is I wanted this to have a little bit more color to it, a little bit more pizzazz, I guess you could call it, because I hate white centers because it's just kind of like a cop out to me. So what I did was I had the flare, I created that into a screen, and then I also duplicated that and changed it to color, render mode on transparent. So it might kind of gives it more of like a colored look, more of that kind of animated style to it, I guess you could say. But yeah, it doesn't look too bad because everything else is kind of colored around it. And I'm also going to change the curvature layers as well to kind of make up for the color adjustments that are in this film here. Okay, so we've got that. Everything's animated, looking good, ready to go. Now the last thing that I've got to do is I've got to put a shadow on my ball here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this purple solid, I'm going to duplicate that purple solid, and I'm going to use the one that's on the bottom. So I'm going to go to Layer, Solid Settings, turn this to a black, hit OK, and that's going to do absolutely nothing. What we're going to do is just go to change that to normal, and I need to make sure that that isn't reacting to my material options down here. Accepts lights, that's turned off. And let's go to masks, mask expansion, 0, feather 0. I'm also going to make sure that this is turned up. So right here is going to be the last frame, so it's going to be right there. And let's go ahead and feather this quite a bit. I know I just took off the feather, but yeah, I make mistakes too. All right, get over it. Expansion down some more, and we'll move it as well. And let's feather down some more. One small feather. So I'm also going to have to take my wiggle off of it. So I'll go here to opacity. I'll go ahead and alternate click on this again. That's going to turn that off. All right, so we'll go to curves. I kind of already had it colored a bit, but just for reasons. Go ahead and brighten this up and curvature that down. Maybe we'll actually even add that blue hue to it. So we'll add that kind of bluish, maybe down just a tad there. And then we'll add the red. So whenever that happens, add some red to our sky, make it a little more purple. Yeah. And if you want to move further, you can mask me out and kind of run with the Pokeball. But that is it. That is all she wrote. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. In the original, the one that I had a particular layer on here that kind of exploded out. But that wasn't really, a part of it. That's something I added at the very end, just kind of give it more emphasis. Also, this is my dog, Gizmo. So he's always made it into tutorials somehow by whining or something. Anyway, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's been a while since I made one of these, so I hope it wasn't too rough. If you have any comments, please leave them in the description below. Also, like me on Facebook in the description below, because more than likely it's going to change from Avid Productions 479 to Cherokee Turner or Hi, I'm Cherokee or something like that. Also, make sure to check me out at CherokeeTurner.com. Make sure to watch all my other videos and tutorials and stuff, and I will see you guys next time.